Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Strategic Command, World War II, World at War. It is September of 1942 in our Allied Let's Play series. The Spanish have joined the war on the side of the Axis, although in our last episode we managed to take Madrid, and then we also took Burgos a couple of turns ago, so the thought is Spain should surrender as soon as I hit the end turn button, which will eliminate these three Spanish units, allow us to retake Gibraltar, reopen the Strait to the Allies, and link our very strong Mediterranean fleet up with our Atlantic fleet to completely gain control of the seas in the European theater. That will then allow us to drive into the southern flank of the Germans near Bordeaux, potentially launch a new amphibious assault originating out of La Coruña to flank Bordeaux, and take Bordeaux, and then drive into southern France with sort of a southern approach to the war there. With that being said, we may also declare war on Vichy France to expand the front against the Germans and hopefully pull more German troops out of Russia to deal with our invasion there. The reason we need to drive them out, pull them out of Russia is on the brink. Stalingrad may fall this turn. The Caucasus is under severe pressure, and we may see Baku, if not falling this turn, then very nearly falling this turn. Grozny will almost certainly fall. Moscow, it seems unlikely it will fall, but they may get a sort of a hex closer to Moscow and seriously threaten the city. And it's very possible that Leningrad will either fall this turn or next turn. It is the fall. It is September of 42, so the hope is that the rains will come, that the mud will come, and that the snow will come, but it's going to be a close-run thing on whether we can survive into the winter and then into the spring of 43 or not. If we can get into the spring of 43, that does open up a lot of possibilities in trying to drive into southern France and liberate France, but that remains to be seen. The Pacific theater is going much better. The Japanese fleet has been savaged. They have not been destroyed, but they've been reduced to about the effective strength of the American Pacific fleet in and around Pearl Harbor here. And that should allow us potentially to start launching counterattacks against the Japanese, maybe even landing troops in Tarawa or Kwajalein or any Weetalk in the not-too-distant future, and driving slowly but steadily toward Japan. The Chinese front is a little bit less good, but not as terrible either. The Japanese are threatening to break through in sort of the center. We've stabilized a little bit with some British reinforcements that have arrived. They're also threatening to break through kind of up in the north center near Sian and Yichang, and their air power is really pretty devastating. We need the monsoons, hopefully, to come to help slow things up a bit. In the north, we've stymied an offensive by two armies with the Chinese 8th Route Army, but it remains to be seen how long we can hold on that northern route, which could allow them to drive south into Langkao toward Urichi, toward the rear of China, if we can hold off near Sian. That's the situation right now. We've already done the Allied turns, so let's go ahead and end turn and see what the end of the month of September has to bring. Alright, so our engineers south of Moscow completed their fortress there. That's very good news. We can move some troops in there next turn, which will add to the defense of Moscow. Axis raiders are disrupting the convoys between the USA and the UK. USSR develops infantry weapons level 2. That is huge, assuming we can get enough troops off the front line to develop it. Also, anti-aircraft defense level 1, that is also huge because the Germans are busy pounding our troops. And the rains have arrived. That is great news for us. That should ground the German Air Force and substantially weaken the German offensive in the next turn or so. God, I'm glad to see the rains come pretty much along the whole Soviet front based on what I'm looking at. There's also rain throughout China as well, so hopefully that means there won't be air attacks against our forces there either. The rain should slow movement, should weaken attacks, it should ground all German Air Force units, and give us a chance. Usually there is a bit of a sort of a freezing over period in the early winter when the Germans don't quite get the full penalty of the winter offensive, so they may yet get sort of a late fall opportunity to overrun us. But if this can buy us a couple more turns on the Russian front, I will be absolutely thrilled. I'm also kind of surprised to see that it didn't say that Spain surrendered yet. Maybe that will come in the next turn, or maybe Spain will fight on without their capitals. Apparently some portions of China are not socked in. Oh, shit. that northern force there and the extreme southern force here look like they're still vulnerable to air attacks. It's the center and sort of the Stalingrad front that are vulnerable. The Germans are still pounding some of our Soviet forces with artillery. German armor there, meanwhile, destroyed that garrison south of Stalingrad. But the good thing is the armor, the garrison there bought time because it ate up the first of the armor attacks. The second armor attack had no effect on Stalingrad itself, and that's good for us. Meanwhile, Japanese Marines just destroyed a Chinese corps there. German infantry trying to flank Moscow. They're attacking a garrison. Japanese troops going on the offensive pretty much all across the front. German troops are attacking to the south of Leningrad, doing some damage there, although they're not actually destroying the units there. Russian army there to the south of Ryazan, driven back, nearly destroyed, but not actually completely destroyed. Russian army to the west of Vichy Voshok, driven back, but not destroyed. The garrison in Grozny holds on valiantly. Wow. I'm surprised they hung on. They barely even lost any casualties. And the communist army in the north near Ningxia was just destroyed, so two Japanese armies now have no resistance if they want to drive deep into the heart of the Chinese northern front. German armor pushing some troops back in front of Saratov, but not destroying the army there, so that's good. We did lose one army south of Moscow there and one army to the north here, as well as several other units that were very badly damaged. German armor is trying to flank and drive towards Saratov to get in toward our rear, toward Kuybyshev. A lot of shifting and moving of troops. But Stalingrad did not fall yet. That is very good news. Now, if the weather clears next turn and they can bomb Stalingrad, it will certainly fall. I think Stalingrad would have fallen for sure if they could have brought their tactical air in, but they could not, so that was good news for us. German U-boats off Portugal. We did destroy one U-boat there. Marines lose some... Japanese Marines lose some supply there. Or they were Japanese, or... Axis control of Gibraltar is limiting supply to the Middle East. Partisan activity in China. So Spain didn't surrender? What the fuck? So it looks like we lost the 12th garrison of the Soviets. The Chinese lost the 23rd Corps, as well as the 8th Route Army. The Soviets lost the 13th Army and the 3rd Mechanized destroyed. That certainly wasn't a disastrous turn. Wasn't good, but the weather sure helped. Okay. Alright, so the U.S. is getting 2 armies and an escort carrier. The Soviets are just getting 1 army this turn. I'm going to pull these guys back toward Kuybyshev. I would like to reinforce them, but I'd rather just get them out of the way for the moment. This army in Stalingrad took no casualties, was attacked once, but it survived. So we're going to kind of hope that they can hang on a little bit longer. These troops in the south did take some casualties. These guys took massive casualties, so we'll reinforce them. We're going to upgrade these guys to infantry weapon level 2 and anti-air defense. As many of the troops that we can upgrade as possible, I want to do that. Troops that are bordering German soldiers cannot upgrade, however, but many of our troops apparently are not actually bordering any troops, and the anti-aircraft guns should help. Actually, can we give the fortification? We can give fortifications anti-air. That's nice. So that's an interesting sort of indirect way of giving air cover to our troops in the front. Actually, I should move these engineers. I hate the idea of moving the engineers forward, because they're going to end up taking casualties if we do that. Probably getting destroyed in the process. But I actually think that might be the best course of action, to willingly lose them. Just because I need to buy as much time as I can. So we'll deploy those troops to that fortification there. Upgrade the troops in Moscow itself. Upgrade the headquarters to get the anti-air. Reinforce our fighters. And our attack air. Spending almost all of our points this turn on upgrades. God, I'd like to pull these guys back, but I can't. They just can't get out of there. They're zona controlled in. So these guys are going to die. We'll reinforce these troops here. We'll also shift these troops north. I'm actually debating we can pull the headquarters unit north a little bit and then move these guys into Leningrad proper, maybe? Or we can do this and try and just block them. Both these guys are going to die. Okay, so that we didn't have any money left over to actually buy anything for the Soviets, which kind of sucks. If I attack here, do I lose entrenchment? Let's see, these guys have 3, so if I attack, do they lose anything? The artillery, the attack, do they still... They lose 1 entrenchment. I'll do that. That's a fair trade, because we'll get it right back. Nice! Nice! We didn't take any casualties, and we destroyed that cavalry unit. Great result there. We didn't even lose the entrenchment. Solid. Okay. Alright, so that's the Soviet front. We'll reinforce this unit here. Grozny is still at full strength, although I imagine if the weather turns, that may change quickly. I'm not going to attack with anyone. Just kind of hopefully hold them off for another turn, although I imagine Stalingrad will fall next turn. Saratov probably as well. Hopefully they can't get as far as Kuybyshev in the mud, but then we'll be into November before the next turn. So again, the focus here really is around hanging on as long as we can. It sure would be tempting to, if we hadn't done all this, to move forward and try and attack these German headquarter units. But most of these troops have really high readiness numbers too, which is nice. The troops in Moscow here are dug in level 2. That'll get worked on. These German troops don't have a ton of supply either, so attacking the 22nd Army hopefully will be challenging. It's unfortunate because we don't actually get entrenchment bonuses for these troops in Leningrad, because I guess it's marshy territory or not great territory to the south. In any event. Alright, so that's the Russian front. That's pretty much done. Spain apparently doesn't want to surrender, which is kind of annoying, to say the least. So now I've got to spend time and effort sort of reducing these guys in the south. When I really don't even want to be doing that. I want to be driving north. Okay. We'll drive this mechanized troop south. Maybe they can finish these guys off. Got him. Alright, so we knocked out that one unit there in the south. I guess there's probably still a fighter unit down here, right? Yeah. Okay, we'll land these troops here. So now really the focus needs to be on the advance into France. I'm guessing there's going to be fighter cover over us as we try and attack these guys. If we bombard them, do they lose their entrenchments? Not really sure. Let's... Oh, there's storms here, so our ships can't even effectively attack their subs. At least our carriers can't attack their subs there. Maybe we can force them to submerge. Probably just going to submerge where it's already rainy. Why is Vigo still Axis? I don't understand that. Okay, so let's try and reduce their fortifications through TAC airstrikes. Interestingly enough, we didn't... Alright. So we hit them twice with TAC air. Their entrenchment's still the same. Strategic bombers can't fly quite that far. We'll move them up to Gaijan. Reinforce these British tanks there. Eats up the bulk of our British reinforcement budget. Alright, so we'll move. Just trying to see, like, what's the best. So we can actually cut Bordeaux off. That's interesting. So we've attacked them multiple times. Their entrenchment's down to 1. This mechanized formation can move forward here on Bordeaux. Alright, so we took some casualties there. Really wish that infantry could make it all the way up there, but they can't. So we'll have to move these guys forward. So we're taking casualties going for Bordeaux, but we do, at least in theory, have them surrounded. We'll move our fresh troops forward here. Upgrade these troops. These guys can't even get full reinforcement, so I'd rather move them forward to somewhere where they'll have better supply. Alright, so let's take a look. The partisans in Madrid are suppressed currently. Partisans between Burgos and Salamanca are not. We'll just move that guy. Move the fighters forward. Upgrade that garrison weapons. Alright, so I'm hoping we can finish the remnants of the Spanish forces off next turn. And open up the strait. Then maybe we can even force Bordeaux to fall next turn. And then really drive toward Paris. I mean, I'm not picking up any intelligence of any German troops here. Now, maybe now that we moved 4 units into France, they'll redeploy troops to close this gap. But if they don't deploy troops along the mouth of this southern French sort of front, we might be able to rapidly expand the front. Okay. Alright, move that guy over here. Let's move these carriers somewhere they can fly. Let's get some intelligence up here. Do we see anything? There's no indication. I mean, we're taking some casualties with our air wing to do some reconnaissance. We are inflicting a few casualties on them too. But there's no indication here. I've got to move my other ships across. Oh, shit. Probably should have used my naval vessels to bombard, but I didn't want to take the risk that they would get sunk. Now I'm trying to shield the carrier from the enemy. But I see no indication of enemy armies here blocking our way. So that's sure interesting. These guys still down in front of... Yeah, they still got the paratroopers in front of Rome. Alright, we're going to operate this TAC air into Spain. We should be able to hit Bordeaux next turn from there. Multiple escorts up front there too. And we can probably overrun Bordeaux next turn. Their readiness and morale are way down. Okay. So their entrenchment's 4. If I bombard them... Their entrenchment's still 4. Their readiness is 73 and morale is 57. If I bombard them again... I'm at least hurting their supply here. Readiness 57, morale 73. Meanwhile, one of the ships I had here moved to Bermuda. Then we're going to move them to Port Delgada. This is just a garrison unit for Spain. So moving them port to port. Then they'll be able to make it to Portugal next turn. Meanwhile, the Americans have new ground units as well. 2 new armies. We'll go ahead and put them both on the coast. Actually, get 2 escort carriers of Charleston. Or Charleston and Norfolk. We got a Ranger Special Forces unit here that we're going to move. Oh, shit, I put them on an amphibious. Whatever, I can use that. Canadian Headquarters unit here. Transport. I can't quite get them to a way station. I could get them all the way out to Port Delgada, but I think actually I'd rather send them to Bermuda first. Again, sort of a way station on the way there. Also, apparently there's Mexican forces that I can use. Mexico's at war, so I guess I can... Are there partisans we have to worry about here? No. Well, good. So I can put some Mexican troops and get them into the war. Panama has garrisons too. Well, this is all good news. Again, no partisans anywhere in there, so... I guess I don't even need to be buying garrisons. And again, this British cruiser I kind of forgot about. It's down here. Can I move it around the Cape? I think I'd rather send it to the Pacific, to be honest. I'll just send it up this way. I could use that warship in the Pacific more than anywhere else. Alright, so we're moving those Mexican troops. Let's hope we don't forget about them next turn. Garrison in San Francisco. We'll leave that there. The American ships, by the way, reinforcing their aircraft. Reinforcing these guys. Couldn't even fully reinforce that destroyer. Alright, I'm going to try and do a landing here with that Marine unit. I don't know where yet. It's either going to be Tarawa, Eniwetok, or Kwajalein. They're not fully strength. They're at 8 strength. But that's okay. We can work with that. I'm trying to see, like, what would be the best... option here. If we move a battle, let's move a heavy cruiser forward to Kwajalein. There's nothing on Kwajalein, so we could land there without casualty, which would be nice if we could take Kwajalein from the enemy. We could also move forward here and see what's on Tarawa. There might be something there. There are Japanese Marines on Tarawa. So hopefully their navy doesn't counter-strike us at Tarawa, but if they do, then we can kind of draw them into bait. So it'd be nice to take Kwajalein, Tarawa, any Weetalk, you know, any number of potential morale points for the Japanese. They do have troops on any Weetalk as well. Kind of stringing our fleet out a little bit. But Kwajalein is open, so we could hit them there. Assuming it stays open. Okay, we can get the level 3 tanks and over here. I don't want to do that. That's a waste of money. For now, it's a waste of money. I really would like to use some of these Australian forces in our counterattacks too, but we're going to hold off on that for now. Japanese Marines near Kotobaru continue to lose some casualties. Maybe we can hurry their casualties along. Nice! British, the BAI, British Indian Army, or something to that effect, moves down and inflicts multiple casualties on those guys. We move this headquarter unit south. They could, if they bring... God, this is such short range. I need to send troops to Madagascar, but it's going to take for frickin' ever. They could bring Vietnam into the war, which would massively undermine our situation in India. But I'm kind of gambling that they don't. What are these? Those are fighters. Okay. Right, these guys should be largely out of supply. Granted, our troops aren't in great shape either. So we'll reinforce that corps, which was driven back. Really, I'm just trying to cause as much headache as I can for the Japanese. I'm going to move these guys north toward Langkau to try and block this northern invasion. All right. Damn it. Okay. Doing some damage to various Japanese units. Not quite as much as I would like, but... Well, I just pulled troops out of Nanning. Now the Japanese can advance right into my rear. That was a mistake. I fell for the allure of hitting the HQ, and now they can literally just advance into my rear, cut me off. with a very strong force, potentially even into the rear of our whole army down there. Well, I'm not sure what the zone of control restrictions will be down there, but it's not going to be pleasant. That was a big mistake. These guys were completely cut off from supply, and I just let them off the fucking hook. I could pull these guys back to Kwai Lane, but then that'll open up this whole front. I've got reinforcements coming, but they're a ways away. We do have this corps here on their flank. Probably would prevent it from moving into Kwai Lin, but I'm not sure. Good news is we should be able to finish off this headquarter unit next turn. Bad news is I don't know if I can hold that line for long. I don't understand. So, like, I'm supposed to go after Madagascar, but it's neutral, so I don't think I can just land troops off a transport. Again, part of me wonders if we'd just be better off going to war with Vichy. But I really want to deal with these troops in my rear first at Gibraltar and Murcia and try and reduce things there. I don't know, I didn't really accomplish a lot that turn. Russia was a much better turn than I had hoped. On the flip side, I didn't really do much. We've got American escort carriers which are showing up as well. I don't think I need them in the Atlantic. That might be helpful against the subs. But honestly, I think I'd rather place them on the U.S. West Coast and use them to crush the Japanese. Or help crush the Japanese. Those 2 extra carriers. We're up to 3 escort carriers, 3 fleet carriers, all at full strength. As well as 6 battleships. And 2 heavy cruisers. That's a pretty potent force. If we look at the Japanese fleet, we can see they're at 14 vessels. The U.S. Navy's at 21 total. The British are at 30. Germany's at 7. U.S. and Britain has almost a larger navy than Japan and Germany put together. And it does help to offset the air forces as well because of the number of carriers we have. But the land forces are so huge on Germany's side. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of money we might be able to throw into some research, which is pretty important. The U.S. is at 158. We could put more either into anti-tank weapons. We don't have enough for more advanced tanks, but we're already at level 3 tanks, and we're pretty far along the way to level 4, so that'll be helpful. We probably need to invest more in advanced fighters. Amphibious warfare is a tech we should probably invest in more too, so we'll do that. Air defense wouldn't have been a terrible idea either. India, meanwhile, infantry weapons are already at level 2, tanks are at 1. I could put it into tanks, but I don't know if I'd ever see the benefits there. So I think India might be better off just purchasing more units. But I don't have enough to purchase its good weapons. So purchase without. Okay, well that's the situation right there. So I think that's going to do it for this episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed yet another episode of Strategic Command World War II, World at War. Hope you guys are all staying safe from the coronavirus scare that's going on right now. I'm recording the night that the NBA suspended their season, which is pretty monumental. But with that being said, stay safe, guys. Stay healthy. Have a good one. Until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying once again, thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm out.